My name is Valerie, and I was taking my son Gavin on an outing, and we came across this health mobile that was like, free lead testing, and we got some information from them. They provided us the ability to have my son tested right there. They gave us the results a couple weeks later, let us know that we did have lead in our house and that he did have lead in his blood, and that we needed to be aware of it and to monitor it. Be sure not to worry too much, but to monitor it. So we monitored it, and we got another test 3 months later, and it showed that he had gone up 3 points from the initial test, so he's going up about a point a month. And at that point is when I felt very scared that, in 3 months' time, he's gone up 3 points. We need to do something about this now. We need to take care of it so that we can prevent him from getting some horrible lead poisoning that's going to cause permanent damage and all the negative side effects of lead. So that's when we started to take some steps and called the Department of Health and asked, what do we do? Because we had no clue. What do we do?
In 2008, approximately half of lead-poisoned children in Ohio were from Cuyahoga County. In fact, our area has one of the highest rates of lead poisoning in the United States. Nearly 1 out of every 5 children in Cuyahoga County who has been tested has an elevated blood lead level. Lead poisoning is entirely preventable. Environmental lead levels have been declining since leaded paint and gasoline were banned in the 70s and 80s. However, there is still a dangerous amount of lead in the environments of many children. The main source of ingested lead is the dust created by deterioration and wear of surfaces which have been painted at some point with leaded paint. Chipping or peeling paint is a major concern. But even if the lead-containing paint is covered with intact lead-free paint, wear and tear of painted surfaces, especially door frames, window frames, and porches, can generate lead-containing dust.
Children under the age of 5 are at greatest risk from elevated lead levels. Normal hand-to-mouth activity and increased GI absorption of lead mean that a relatively high proportion of environmental lead will find its way into the bodies of children in this age group. Lead can negatively affect any body system. Of greatest concern in children are the effects of lead on the developing nervous system's ability to form appropriate synaptic connections. The consequences of chronic exposure can include lifelong behavioral, cognitive, and motor deficits.
Risk factors for lead poisoning include being in an ethnic minority group, urban residents, low income, recent immigration, parents who work in certain manufacturing processes, for example, battery manufacturing and smelting, residents in a house built before 1950, and residents in a house built before 1978, which has recently undergone renovation. Because these risk factors are so common in our area, and because lead levels may not peak until age 3, our health department recommends an aggressive screening regimen. While the CDC suggests screening at ages 1 and 2 in communities with average risk, we recommend screening of all local children at ages 1, 2, 3, and 4. Children not tested by age 4 should be tested at least once between ages 5 and 6. Also, the most recent CDC recommendation states that action should be taken when blood lead levels reach 10 micrograms per deciliter. They acknowledge, though, that concentrations below 10 do not represent a safe level. Given the overwhelming evidence of harm at levels below 10, area public health agencies, under the guidance of local experts, have unanimously agreed that the level of awareness and action locally should be 5 micrograms per deciliter.
If a child's blood lead level is found to exceed 5, what should you do? The most effective treatment is to eliminate the sources of lead exposure. Local health departments can provide a wealth of resources to families with lead concerns. These include testing of the home, contacts for certified lead-safe contractors, HEPA vacuum loan programs, case management, and help with applying for grant programs to offset the costs of reducing home lead hazards. Lead testing results for all children younger than 16 are received by local health departments.
When it comes to minimizing the impact of lead on children's health and development, early anticipatory guidance is the key. Parents should be educated about the sources of lead exposure as well as the importance of adequate nutrition, including plenty of calcium, iron, and vitamin C. Children should not be allowed to play in bare soil. Do not cook, serve, or store food in containers that are not known to be lead safe. Consume only water from the cold water supply. Hot water is more likely to dislodge small amounts of lead present in some older plumbing. In houses built before 1978, parents should wet mop floors and wet wipe horizontal surfaces, especially around windows, every week. Hands, toys, and pacifiers should be washed regularly. Removing shoes when entering homes prevents lead dust from being brought into the home from outside. Taking thorough environmental and occupational histories can go a long way in identifying lead hazards. If the child is going to be around someone exposed to occupational sources of lead, that person should not wear work clothes near the child. Work clothes should be washed separately from the family laundry.
If the doctor didn't initiate the lead test, I don't think I would have known my son had lead, because he's so active and smart. Once they contact the county contacted me to come out to inspect the home. And when she came out and inspected the home, it was a high level of lead in the home. She told me about a program the city was offering to folks like us who couldn't afford to fix up the home. They replaced the windows, they replaced the railings on the porch, they painted the porch, they painted all the thresholds. If it wasn't for the Lead Safe program, I don't think we'll be able to keep our home, the home that my son's grandfather left to him. So I really appreciate all the work that they've done.
It happened in our house, and it can happen in your house, it can happen at grandma's, it can happen at the daycare provider, it can happen at the sandbox that is at the park. We don't know exactly where lead is going to be found. The ability for us to test kids, or for physicians to have the kids tested, for healthcare providers to have them tested so that we know, so the parents know, it's there. Why not use it? Why not do it if we can? Lead safe living, learn the risk, get kids tested, reduce lead hazards. That's what we got to do.